This video is based on the technical analysis of Ger40, which is also known as Ger30. And at this point in time, as you guys can see, we're on the monthly chart. And in regards to the monthly chart, it is my opinion that we're likely going to see a very big rejection at this level, where we possibly could see the market actually move further down to actually complete this huge double top or M structure. Why do I say so? That is because if you were to look at this area over here, we can see that the market has been struggling in regards to break beyond that point to the upside. And to add to that, we have this candlestick over here. What it is a bearish candlestick with a relatively small body and quite a long upper wick. And in my very humble opinion, it is a rejection candlestick, and it indicates that we may, as I said, potentially see the market move further down, right? And ideally, myself personally, I would love to see the market actually complete the structure, which is a double top or an M structure. It started at this level, in my very humble opinion, and I would rather like to see it end at that level in line with where it started. And we can also see that it has a neckline at that point, as you guys can see, right? Anyway, let's head down to the smaller time frames and see what else is happening down there. Just bear with me. And here we are on the weekly chart. And in regards to the weekly chart, we can see, in keeping with what I said earlier, that we may potentially see the market actually move further down. We can see, as I said, guys, that we have here another double top or M structure, which had a neckline at that point. And we actually saw price breaking to the bottom side of that neckline and then heading back to the neckline to give it a test. However, unfortunately, the neckline was not able to hold price, as the anticipation was for the market to move further down, but we saw the market continue to move further up, violating that neckline. So that neckline is no longer valid, as it was a very strong level of resistance. However, at this point in time, it does not necessarily mean that this M structure is no longer valid over here, right? Because what could actually happen at this point is, as much as I said, guys, we have this M structure which had a neckline at that point. We saw price breaking to the bottom side of that neckline, heading back to the neckline to give it a test. Price failed to hold, or rather the neckline failed to hold price. And what may possibly happen is we may still see a situation where price heads all the way up to where we have that M structure at the top, and it potentially give us a triple top where we see price at that level actually start to move further down, right? I hope what I'm saying makes sense and is not confusing. Anyway, what else do we see in regards to the weekly chart? Another thing that I also want to mention, that I speak about quite often, is that, remember guys, whenever we have these M structures like we do here, right, as well as here, what normally happens, as I always say, is that a lot of traders and investors usually sell on the second leg of that M structure or double top, and they place their stop losses just above, right? So as much as I'm saying that my anticipation, or what I would love to see, is for the market to move further down, we may actually see a situation where the market actually moves further up to grab all of those stop losses that are located just above here. And that is because, guys, remember, stop losses represent liquidity, and liquidity, as I always say, is actually money that needs to be triggered by the market at one point or another. Having said that, my bias is still for the market to move further down, right? My bias is still for the market to move further down, right? Anyway, what else do we see on the weekly chart that we should be looking at? At this point, really, I don't see much. Let's head down to the daily chart. And here we are on the daily chart. What do we see on the daily chart? On the daily chart, guys, remember, just to recap, on the weekly chart, I spoke about how we had this huge M structure over here, which had a neckline at that point. And as I said, guys, we saw price breaking to the bottom side of that neckline at that point, and it went back to the neckline to give it a test. And at this level over here, we can see, as I said earlier, that the neckline was not able to hold price, and we saw the market continue to move further up. Another thing that I said is that as much as we had this M structure and the neckline failed to hold price, it does not necessarily mean that the M structure rather is no longer relevant. It is relevant, and that is because we may also see a situation where the market moves further up to around this level again to give us a third leg of this triple top, and then we may potentially see the market move further down, right? So that's one of the outcomes that we may encounter in as far as Ger40 is concerned, right? But now that we're on the daily chart, what else do we see? So on the daily chart, as much as we had this huge M structure over here, which had a neckline at that point, and we saw the neckline failing to hold price, we also have a smaller M structure, guys, over here. I hope you guys can see that. If I can just drop it properly over here, which has a neckline at that point, right? And ideally, as I usually say, guys, we want to see price breaking to the bottom side of that neckline, hitting back up to the neckline to give it a test. And where we have that neckline, ideally, is where we would look for those potential selling opportunities, right? That's where we would look for those potential selling opportunities, right? So myself personally, I would love to see price break below that level, and once it does that, I will look for potential selling opportunities. And if I do find any, my first take profit should be around this level over here. Why this level? That is because this level is a very strong level of support at this point in time. Also keep in mind that we are in an upward trending market, and as much as I'm saying that my first take profit will be around this level, we should be cognizant of the fact that we have this trend line, and it may also happen that we see price push further down to the trend line, and at the trend line continue to move further up. We just need to be careful, because at the end of the day, earlier I did say that we had this M structure, and I said whenever it comes to M structures or double tops, what normally happens is that a lot of traders and investors usually sell on the second leg of that M structure, and they place their stop losses just above. So we may see, as I said, price move to where we have the trend line, and at this trend line we may then again see the market move further up to grab those stop losses. So what I'm doing, guys, at this point in time is just showing you some of the outcomes that we may experience in as far as Ger40 goes, right? But as I said, myself personally, I would love to see the market closing below that neckline, and if it does so, right, I would look for potential selling opportunities, right? Another thing that motivates for why we may potentially see the market from where it is reverse is that we actually have also another strong level of resistance at this point over here. Let me just actually add an actual line to that structure, right? We could say that where we have this line over here, we actually have a very strong level of resistance, and that is because we've had multiple rejections in and around that area, and we may see a situation, as I said, guys, where the market actually moves further down to around this level to complete this very nice small M structure, right? And at this level, we would then evaluate in terms of where price could go to next, as this is a very strong level of resistance at this point in time, right? What else do we see, guys, on the daily chart? On the daily chart, guys, remember also that as much as we have all these patterns, such as the M structure over here, as well as the smaller one over here, this level here is very much interesting in that the market is moving sideways, right? The market is moving sideways, and anything could happen within this block, and we just need to make sure that we practice good money management and we are extremely disciplined, right? Anyway, from here, let's head down to the H4 chart and see what's happening down there. And just to recap, guys, here we are on the H4 chart. On the H4 chart, on the daily chart, we spoke about how we have this M structure over here, right? Remember, guys, it had a neckline at this point. Price at this level broke below the neckline, went back to the neckline to give it a test. The neckline was not able to hold